Well, hey friends and neighbors, this is Chuck out at Sheraton Park Farms. Welcome back to the farm. Lots of folks interested in raising chickens. Price of eggs are going up, food system folks are concerned about that, and just generally wanting to be more self-sustainable. We agree with all those things. So today, we want to talk to you a little bit about baby chicks, what breeds to choose, the equipment that you're going to need, where to get your chicks from, just generally how to get those chicks off to a good start on your farm, your homestead, or in your backyard. So stick around with us for a little bit and let's talk about incubating baby chicks. Okay, fresh baby chicks. So you've decided that you're going to take the plunge and get into chickens. First thing you need to decide is what's the purpose in these birds? Are you raising chickens just for eggs? Are you raising chickens just for meat? Or are you looking for a dual purpose bird? One that'll give you eggs now, but that you can process for meat later on. And you're going to want to pay attention to the breed that you're buying whenever you're thinking about the purpose in your chicken. So understand the different breeds and the different purposes for the breeds and what they're best at. So for this video, we're primarily going to talk about egg chickens, and the principles for brooding chicks is the same whether it's meat chickens or whether it's egg chickens or whether it's a dual purpose bird. They're all basically the same. So let's go in, let's kind of show you the equipment that we've got for brooding the chicks. We'll talk about where to get them. We'll talk about some common health issues and just how to get your birds off to a good start. Because, you know, if you don't get your birds off to a good start, you're not going to have a good finish. So let's go in and check these babies out. Okay, so you've decided on the purpose in your chickens and you've decided on which breed you're going to go with. Now, how do you source your chickens? Where do you find chickens at? Well, a lot of the local small hardware feed and seeds will order chicks and will have chicks available in the springtime. Of course, there's always the big box farm store like Tractor Supply, Rural King. They have chicks available. Although my understanding is this year there's a lot of folks interested in getting those and they're kind of hard to find. Or they're going quick once the stores do get them. Number of hatcheries online that you can order chicks from come in the mail in a box, something kind of like this. Or sometimes you'll find a local farm like us that hatches eggs and has chicks for sale. Now, once you decide on breed and you've decided on where you're going to get them, do you want males, do you want females, or do you want straight run? Here's the difference. If you are buying just for eggs, you're going to want to get females. A young juvenile chicken that's a female is called a pullet, and you have to have female chickens to have eggs. A young juvenile male chicken that grows up to be a rooster is called a cockerel. You do not have to have a rooster in order to have eggs unless you want those eggs fertilized. If you don't have a rooster, the hen's still going to lay eggs, they're just not going to be fertilized. And then also straight run. Sometimes Tractor Supply, Rural King, even the hatcheries will sell a deal if you're buying straight run. And what that means is you're going to get whatever they put in the box. It may be males, it may be females, it may be a mix of both. It's usually a mix of both. So if you order 10 straight run chickens and you're ordering for eggs and you get 10 cockerels, you're not going to be very happy. If you get 10 pullets, then boom, you're off and running. Usually it's going to be 5 and 5, 6 and 4, 7 and 3, one way or the other. But again, you can't be guaranteed that you're going to get all of one. It's going to be a mix. Now, once you get your chicks, you get them home, whether they come in the mail or you buy them at the store, you're going to need some equipment to get started with. The first thing that these chicks are going to need is a home or a brooder. This is a brooder. This is one that we built. I've got plans in the description down below if you want to build one like this. This is good for about 75 to 100 chicks for a couple of weeks. Some other things that you can use for a brooder. You don't have to have something fancy like this. You can use those drinkers, those livestock drinkers that they have the chicks in at the big box stores. Those work perfect. A large Rubbermaid tub, those work great. Even a cardboard box, something like a box that a refrigerator comes in, or a small, a smaller like a big Amazon box. Works fine. There's no reason. These chicks don't care. The first one that complains about what type of brooder they're in, then we've got a trick chicken on our hands anyway. But you got to have a home. You got to have a space for these things. The next thing they're going to need is going to be light or heat, and we use these lamps. They've got a heat lamp in the bottom of them, or in the element for them. This is a little bit more heavy duty because of what we do around here. The brooder lamps that you get at the box stores or your local feed and seed, they're fine for small 1 or 2 batches a year. They're not designed to run all the time like these are. We'll run these will probably stay on for months now. But you got to have a heat source. There's some other heat devices that you can use for chicks, some things called an Ohio brooder, which is basically a heat plate elevated up off the floor of the brooder that the chicks can get under and warm. Those work fine. I don't have any experience with them, but I've talked to folks that do. They like them. You're going to have feed and water. Feeding systems, we use this. This is a 7-pound hanging feeder. There's a number of different styles of feeders that you can get. Get you a good quality chick starter. This is just a ground feed. We get this from our local feed supplier. Works out really good. Consider putting some grit in there, and grit is just small granulated rocks. That's all it is. The chicks will eat that as they need it, and it goes into their crop, and it helps to grind this feed up so that they can digest it. See, there's even still a little bit of a pellet in here. And so those chicks are going to need to grind that up in their crop so that they can digest it. They will take as much as they need. If they don't need it, they won't mess with it. They'll leave it alone. You're going to need a drinker. A number of different styles of drinkers that you can get. This is the one that we use. This is about a 3-gallon drinker. We fill it up. You can put some apple cider vinegar in it, just a little bit. That helps with digestion on the chick. Also helps with things like pasty butt and some of those types of chick diseases and chick problems that you may run into. Apple cider vinegar, it's good for a little bit of everything. We put gravel in the bottom of these. Reason that we do, this is a little bit of a deep well in here. So if a chick gets in there and they can't get out, they're going to drown. So we put rocks in there, and that gives the chicks something to stand on and helps them get out if they accidentally get down in the drinker. Now once you get your chicks home, you're going to want to just dip their beak in that water right there, show them where it is. They're going to get a little bit of drink, and then they're going to take off running, and they're going to be good to go. Something else that you're going to need is you're going to need some bedding or some wood shavings. Again, most of the feed and seed big box farm stores sell these. You might also check with your local sawmill or cabinet shop. Don't use black walnut. We use primarily pine. Now they come in the larger flake size, and they also come in just a smaller, more finely ground up salt. It's not really sawdust, it's just a finer shaving. We use a deep bedding method. Works out really good. We put about 12 to 16 inches of wood chips and material in here. As the chicks poo on it, they scratch it up. It kind of works its way down, and it begins to compost. That's really good for a couple reasons. Later on, when you bring your chicks out, this can be some really good stuff to put on your garden, around your flowers, or you can put it, just out on your grass, and it helps your grass to grow. Another benefit from the composting action is that it creates a little bit of radiant heat coming up from underneath the chicks. That helps to keep them warm. So a couple of different benefits from having that. So got to have a brooder. Again, it can be anything that you can imagine. A heat source, feed, water, and bedding, and that'll help you get your chicks off to a good start. Next thing I want to talk about is the number of chicks that you buy. And the number of chicks you get is certainly based on the context in which you're raising them. So if you are going to be raising, a little small backyard flock where you just want to be able to get, a few eggs, then, maybe 5 or 6 chickens is all you need. If you're out on a large homestead, you've got 4 or 5 acres and plenty of room for these chickens to roam and run, and you want plenty of eggs for yourself and maybe have a few extra to sell, then that number that's going to change the number of chickens that you end up getting. So the number of birds you get really should be in context for what you're trying to do for them. Another thing to keep in mind, if you're in more of an urban setting, know what your ordinances are. If you're living in a development with an HOA, what are the rules around chickens? If you're living in a city, what are the rules around chickens? I know lots of cities, will let you have 4 or 5 hens, but no roosters. So know what your ordinances are. You don't really want to run afoul of the law, but it's still a good idea to know what those rules are, what you can and what you can't do. The other thing on numbers is the number of hens to the number of roosters. If you decide that you want to have roosters, The general accepted number is 1 rooster for about every 8 to 10 hens that you have. Many more roosters than that in terms of ratio, you will start to have a lot of competition between those male birds, and they're going to become very aggressive, and they'll wear your hens out. You'll start seeing lots of feather picking, lots of damage to their saddle feathers around their backs, and those roosters can be pretty ruthless. And they also will fight amongst themselves, and quite frankly, they'll fight to the death. So 1 rooster for every 8 to 10 hens is a plenty. All right, there we go. So that's sort of a primer. That should get you started. We talked a little bit about the breeds of chickens, males, females, equipment that you need, and really what you need to do to get your chicks off to a good start, again, on your farm, your homestead, or in your backyard. Chicks are a great gateway drug to farming. We started out with chickens, but as you know, it's kind of evolved into a lot more. So I think that's going to do it. We're going to have more info on raising chickens for eggs and getting them started on your homestead or your farm or in your backyard. I know lots of folks are interested in that. But like we always say, please keep us in your prayers. May God bless you and your families, and we'll see you on the next video.